From the WNYB studios in Orchard Park, New York, it's Celebrate, proclaiming the gospel to Western New York and Southern Ontario, giving glory to the Lord in word and in song. On Celebrate.
Hello and welcome to Celebrate. We've got a very special edition of Celebrate on today. We're going to be dealing with one of the most tragic crisis events taking place, I believe, in the lives of Western New York and the community around the world. We have wonderful guests. We've got Jody Altman, Kids Escaping Drugs. We got New York State Troopers James O'Callahan and John Campanella. We got Reverend Dr. James A. Lewis III, ECMC and Miracle Missions. We got Corey Neiman, Christian Cornerstone Ministries. We got all these persons who are coming today to give you information on how to deal with this opiate addiction and how to minister to people whose lives have been broken and torn apart. If you're sitting by yourself, call your friend, call your neighbor, call your niece, call a nephew. Tell them, turn on TCT. You do not want to miss this very special broadcast. And so now I want to welcome to this wonderful edition of Celebrate, Jody Altman. Welcome to Celebrate.
Thank you for having
me. It is absolutely my pleasure to have you, to get information from you, to glean this wealth of knowledge you have, because you've been working with Kids Escaping Kids for about how long?
Kids Escaping Drugs. I've been on that campus for 27 years.
27 years, so 31 years in dealing with this public health crisis. What is the public health crisis as it deals with opiate addiction?
Opiate addiction is alive and well. As anytime you turn on the TV, anytime you read anything, you see that opiates are a part of our life. They're a part of our life for our kids, for adults, for our parents, for our grandparents. Unfortunately, this epidemic just reaches well beyond any of us, and we cannot get ahead of it at this point.
So it's not just a specific segment of people. It's not the rich. It's not the poor. It's not the black, the white, Hispanic. So this crisis has impacted all of us.
It's impacted all of us. It doesn't know neighborhoods. It doesn't know color. It doesn't know religion. It doesn't know age. Unfortunately, it's everywhere you go. And we all know somebody. If it's not us, if it's not somebody in our family, it's somebody in our neighborhood, somebody at our office. To continue to keep our heads in the sand and say we don't know anybody is just not helping.
But now, Jody, help me. You're ministering at a place called Kids Escaping Drugs, and the age begins at what age group?
We are ages 12 to 20.
12 to 20. Let me let that resonate. So from the age of 12 years old, you have people who are coming in for treatment to be ministered to come off of drug addiction.
Correct.
12 years old.
12 years old, and these, we're a residential treatment facility, so our kids live with us, and they live with us sometimes 4, 5, 6 months, depending on what they need. So imagine someone coming to us didn't just start using drugs a week or two ago. So a 12-year-old could be that far into their addiction that they need to be taken out of their home and need to be put in a residential facility. That's a pretty powerful thing.
Wow, that is... At 12 years old, I was just sharing a little while ago, we were outside playing football and hockey and basketball all day long, and you're dealing with children, 12 years old. What is the path that you've discovered to some of these children? What was the gateway, I'll use that way, or the doorway that opened them up to this devastating opiate addiction?
Well, we always say there's certain, I'm going to call them gateway drugs, although that's a little bit controversial for some people, but our kids start smoking cigarettes, they start drinking, and they start smoking marijuana. They oftentimes will see that at home, whether it be with a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, friends' parents, and they progress from there. When they drink and no longer get the same feeling, they try marijuana, and then it just continues to progress. And somebody says, here, try this, it'll make you feel this way. Kids are curious, and they're going to try it. And with opiates, the addiction's almost immediate.
So this devastating impact on families, how do you see children being addicted to opiates destroying family networks?
It's a really good question. It depends on the situation, but we have families come to us, and families aren't always a mom and a dad. It could be a single parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a sibling that's acting as a parent. Whatever the family is to that child. They come to us and they're just begging us to help. They've tried outpatient, they've tried the legal system, they've tried private counseling, and they no longer know what to do with their child, and they're completely broken. And on our campus, we don't just treat our the child, we treat the family, and we have a really strong family education program, because you know what, the child may have the addiction, but the family gets sick as well, and everybody needs to get to healthy together. And that's what we do.
Well, that's so important because we often think that if I'll just treat this individual, there would be better. But the family has been broken. The family has been tried and challenged, and they're at wit's end. And so this holistic approach, how does the Renaissance Campus minister to the families that's affected as well as the children? What is the holistic approach?
We treat it as a disease, and like with any other disease, if you're diabetic, yes, you need treatment, but your family needs to know what's going to be healthy for you and how you need to eat and how you need to live your life, and that's what we work on with our families. And we work on our families a couple different ways with other families, you know, that have been there longer and can kind of give their advice, but we also work individually with the families and their children and do family therapy sessions so that if it's broken, we can at least figure it out and try to fix it. And I'm not saying it works every time, but at least we can get in there and get down and dirty and figure out who needs to do what, when, and how.
So it's the road to recovery. It's the road to being made whole again. It's the road to bringing sanity to an insane situation or circumstance. Because sometimes, like you're saying, families are at their wits' end. What is the time constraints? How long can a child come? I know you say 12 to 20, but do you have someone that starts at 12 years old and they stay up and through their adolescent years?
Oh, no.
Or how about they come and they go out and they're doing well, but then they relapse and they come back to the campus? What's the time frame approximately that someone can expect to be on campus?
They can be with us. Again, it's very individualized. You know, the kids come to us and they may have a substance use disorder, but then there may be mental health issues that need, you know, attention, behavioral issues. So we average 4 to 5 months. It can be longer, it can be less. Once we expand and we have a reintegration phase, which is a community residence, our kids will be staying with us, but going to school or working in the community and having a safe place. So they'll be there in an indeterminate amount of time. If somebody graduates our program or completes our program and goes out and they relapse, our doors are always going to be open. So come back in, we'll give you a little tune-up, we'll give your family a little tune-up, and then send you on your way. So it's very, very individualized.
And so dealing with all of these different families, all of these different children, all of these different, why is it now that, in your opinion, there's a spotlight on the opiate? You call it, I call it a pandemic. It's more than just, you know, it's horrible. Why is the spotlight now where it seemed like years ago it was like, oh, not in my backyard, not my family? Why do you think there's a spotlight now on the opiate crisis?
Because we can't not look at it. I think it has hit every corner of this world, every corner of this country. It's hit every economic level, every race, every religion. I think what's really thrusted into the spotlight is there's some famous people that have passed away as a result of it. That makes the news. Our kids don't make the news, but our kids die just as well, unfortunately, from overdoses. So I think what's thrusted in the spotlight is famous people passing away. What's kept it in the spotlight is our kids.
Wow. And so now that it's on the spotlight, because I'm mindful of a scripture that talks about how there's nothing that's in darkness that won't be brought to the light. And sometimes you may bring people kicking and screaming, but you got to come to the light. And so Erie County, for an example, has one of the highest incidents in the nation per capita for this opiate addiction. Why Erie County? Why Buffalo, New York? Why Rochester? Why us?
I'm not sure the answer of that. Why us? I think there's such an availability of the drug here from various sources, various areas. It's easy to transport it here, which is a whole law enforcement issue. We have a big drug problem. That's the bottom line, and we can get caught up in that. You know, why do we have this problem? And that kind of, sometimes I think then we don't try to figure out how to deal with the problem. The problem is here, so let's figure it out and let's deal with it.
Very good answer. Because it's important for us not to focus on why us, but why not we become the change agent to transform the families of people who've been broken, who've been torn asunder. So if there's one thing, Jody, you could tell someone suffering from the disease of addiction through the use of opiates, what would you say to that person who's watching us right now and they're wondering, how do I get off this merry-go-round, this cycle of destructive behavior? What would you say to that person?
I would say there's help.
Okay.
I would say they're not alone. And I would say as painful as it is for you now, there's a road to recovery and the pain can go away. If you ask for that help and you accept the help. That's the problem, is some people ask for it and then they choose not to accept it. If they're willing to accept it, there's help. If it's for kids, we will help them. If it's for adults, we will help them find a place to go to. But there's help out there. We just need to accept it.
So the help that's available, ask for it.
Ask.
Let us know that you're in crisis. I find it amazing that sometimes we're in a struggle with an area, and we won't think to ask anybody for help as though we're the only ones going with it. So when you meet and talk with the children, the kids that's coming into the campus, do they feel like sometimes I'm the only one? Something's wrong with me, because why am I struggling with this? It's only me, and I'm embarrassed. I didn't want this to happen. How do you respond to that with the kids?
Well, most of the time they don't feel that right when they come in. They think it's your problem. I don't have a problem. They think it's your problem.
All right.
So when they get to the point where they realize it's a problem and they start to deal with their feelings, and they, when they're away from the drugs, and they start to deal with the guilt that they feel and the shame that they feel, it's really important for them to be with other kids and be with other people that can say to them, you know what? We felt the same thing, and we were able to deal with it, and you will get better. And so that's kind of how we look at it.
Wow, that's excellent. So when people are in active addiction, nothing else matters.
Nope.
The only thing that matters is the next high. The only thing that matters is I want to feel better in this moment. I'm medicating my pain for whatever reason. And so it's only when they become sober, even if it's a moment of sobriety where they're not high, that they really look at themselves and like, wow, this is, but at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, man, you got hormones bouncing off the walls, and it might not be the opiate, it's just your crazy hormones, but then to put on top of your hormones and your changes in life, now you're struggling with this 900-pound gorilla that's sitting on your shoulder. That's gotta be gut-wrenching.
It's difficult. It's difficult to see because, when you're a 15 and 16-year-old, you're not listening to adults. You're listening to your peers because they know everything. And so now all these adults come into your life and say, you have a problem and you have to go here or else, whatever the consequences are. So it's really kind of breaking through that. And again, we have 62 kids on our campus that can help one another say, I was where you are. And when I finally kind of sat back and listened, it made sense. But that's really a long road, and that's difficult. And quite frankly, some kids get it and some don't. And not everybody gets it the first time. Years and years and years ago, you had to get it the first time. That's what we as professionals thought. Now, you know what? If it takes you 3 and 4 times, so long as you're alive, it takes you 3 and 4 times. And that's okay.
Because as long as you're alive, there's an opportunity for you.
Absolutely.
As long as you're alive, there's a chance for you. I liken it to he that has an ear to hear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church. And if you're a child or a younger person, if you are willing to hear someone's wisdom, it's amazing. The older I got, the smarter my parents got. I mean,
True.
And we were young, we knew it all. We hadn't experienced anything. But some of these children have experienced traumas at early ages, and the traumas have been magnified or multiplied because of these addictive disorders that they're struggling with. So what can the average person do, Jody? We know someone in our family. We found out about a neighbor's kid. How do we contact you? How do we get the ball rolling? Because I've met someone who's in active addiction. I've never seen it like that before, and it frightened me. How do I get them some help when they don't even know they need help yet?
You make the phone call. You can call us. Our number is 827-9462. You can also call the Erie County Opiate Hotline or Addiction Hotline at 831-7007. Talk to whoever's on the other end of the phone and let them figure out where to send you. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to be the parent of a child. It's overwhelming to be the sibling, to be a grandparent, to be a spouse. Call somebody that doesn't know you, can be objective, and can give you the advice that you need. That's what we're there for.
Pick up the phone.
Absolutely.
Make a call, text somebody, there's hotlines, email somebody, but don't just allow someone to continue to go down a vicious cycle. My dad, with his great wisdom, used to tell me, son, if your car won't start, that's bad. But if your car won't stop, that could be a tragedy. So sometimes we're on a vicious cycle and going down, and we have no one to put the brakes on.
Right.
We need to break this addiction. We need to break this cycle. And so we got kids escaping drugs. Now, where's the campus? How will we get to the campus?
We are at 920 Harlem Road in West Seneca. We're at Harlem and Clinton. You can get there, your car, we're on a bus route. We will come and pick you up. Whatever needs to be done, we'll do it.
Wow. And Kids Escaping Drugs, I saw there's a partnership, I believe, I want to say with one of the local television stations. They really partner with the Kids Escaping Drugs, and I'm appreciative of that. How, is there a specific time? Is it 24 hours a day? There's a hotline that someone can call? Are there different times of the day where it may be difficult, more difficult to get access to someone?
We're a residential facility, so someone is there 24/7. And if they're not the one that can give you that information, they're going to take your information down and someone's going to get back to you.
So we have no excuse.
No excuse.
No reason not to reach out and say, I'm hurting. Someone in my family is broken. No excuses.
No excuses.
Okay, so then as a society, there's a spotlight now shining on the opiate addiction. But still, there's many of us who want to attach a stigma to drug addiction and opiate addiction. Like, if they were better people, that wouldn't happen to them. If they had better genes, that wouldn't happen. What do you say to people who are yet ignorant to this realization that it's a real crisis and it's really happening in your backyard?
What I say is, nobody wakes up one day and says, my goal in life is to be a drug addict. Just like nobody wakes up and says, I want to have cancer or I want to have diabetes. It's a disease. Yes, we make the choice to drink the first time or take those pills the first time, but we don't make the choice to be an addict. And I say, educate yourself, because any day now it can affect you.
And this effect, because if you're not infected, then you're going to be affected. Then how is it that sometimes, again, we say, well, not in my backyard. I mean, I know there's people that need help and they need assistance, but I don't think I want a treatment facility in my neighborhood. Can we put it somewhere else? What would you say to people who have become so narrow-minded that they've forgotten that we are our brother's keeper? And it's not just the neighborhood, it's the neighbors. It's the neighbors. How do we become more neighborly in seeing people who don't look like us, they don't talk like us, but they're hurting just like us?
What I say is, it's already in your backyard. And if you're blind enough to think it's not, you really need to take a look. It's in your backyard, and you can be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution.